Yisrael, Acheinu, Kol Beit Yisrael, Hanetonim betzara uveshivya, Ahomdim vein bayam uvein bayabasha. Acheinu, Kol Beit Yisrael, Acheinu, Kol Beit Yisrael, Hanetonim betzara uveshivya, Ahomdim vein bayam uvein bayabasha. Hamakom Yerachem Alehem V'yotziem mitzara Livaka Me'afel le'ora U'mishibun ligula Ashta Bagala U'vizman karim. Acheinu Kol Beit Yisrael, Acheinu Kol Beit Yisrael, Hanetonim betzara uveshivya, Ahomdim vein bayam uvein bayabasha.
Shabbat Shalom, everyone. It is really lovely to see all of you. Hope everyone's had a lovely week since our congregation was last together. The building the lights have been off all week, and yet here we are, and it feels just as full as it always does. So thank you, and we hope that everybody's had some really wonderful time seeing family, spending time with family, reuniting with family, and finding your way back here for the Shabbat with your congregational family. If you are new to this space or if you're unfamiliar with it, please just know that if we need to make a quick exit for any reason, we just go right out the doors where we all entered. If anybody needs restrooms or a water fountain, they're just right down there. The doors propped open, the hallway doors propped open, not the bathroom doors propped open. You can find it there, and our ushers and any of our really members or staff who are here can help you find anything that you might need. The days are getting ever so slightly longer. I read, it was real science. It was a real scientist writing, and they said we get roughly just barely under 1 minute of daylight added every single day now that we're on this side of the shortest day of the year, last week. So if it's felt like the days are going by and you're spending a little more time with the sunlight, that's not an illusion. But if you've also had a week, sort of like mine, which was full of just enough stuff, but free of even more stuff, and it flew by, and you're not sure how free time flies by so quick when chock-full weeks take forever, you're in good company here. And we hope that you use this time back together to sink into the loveliness of Shabbat. To start that, we will light our candles and raise our Kiddush cup. The blessings for candles can be found on page 2, and the blessings for Kiddush afterwards is on page 5. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat. As As these Shabbat candles give light to all who behold them, so may we, by our lives, give light to all who behold us. As their brightness reminds us of the generations of Israel who have kindled light, so may we, in our own day, be among those who kindle light. Kiddush is on page 5. Please rise.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav, v'rasavanu, v'shabbat kodsho, be'ahava uvratzon hinchilanu, Zikaron lemahaseh v'reshit, ki hu yom techila lemikra'e kodesh, zecher litziat Mitzrayim. Ki vanu v'charta, ve'otanu kidashta, mikol ha'amim, V'shabbat kodshecha, be'ahava uvratzon, hinchaltanu. Baruch atah Adonai, mekadesh ha-shabbat. Amen. You may be seated. As we turn to page 12 to welcome in Shabbat with psalms and songs, beginning with Lechunu Ranana, let's ring out some joyful noise. Lechunu Ranana l'Adonai, Nariya letzor yishenu, Nekadma fanav betoda, bizmirot nariya lo. Shiru ladonai, shir chadash, shiru ladonai koharet, shiru ladonai baruch shemo. Basru miyom leyom Yeshuato, Zapru bakoyim kevodo bechol ha'amim niflotav, ki gadol Adonai, hulam me'od, norahu. I'll call Elohim, yai rai rai yai rai 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 yai rai 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 yai rai 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 yai rai yai rai yai rai 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 yai rai 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 yai rai 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 yai rai yai rai yai rai 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 yai rai. Hey, rai, 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 hey, rai, 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 hey, rai, 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 hey, rai, 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 hey, rai, 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 hey, rai, rai, rai. Page 20, Lechado D, we'll sing verses 1, 2, 5, and 9, and we'll rise and face that door for the last verse. Lechado D, likrat kala, pene Shabbat nekabela, Lechado di likrat kala, pene Shabbat nekabela, Shamor v'zachor v'tibor echad hishmiyanu, El hameyukad Adonai echad, ושמו אחד לשם ותפארת ולתהילה דודי לקראת קהלה פני שבת נקבלה דודי לקראת קהלה פני שבת נקבלה לקראת שבת לקורבנך כי מקור הברכה מראש מקדם נסוכה סוף מעשה במחשבה תחילה לך דודי לקראת קהלה פני שבת נקבלה לך דודי לקראת קהלה פני שבת נקבלה. Verse 5 התעוררי כי באורך קומי אורי שידברי כבוד אדוני עלייך נגלה דודי לקראת קהלה פני שבת נקבלה לך דודי לקראת קהלה פני שבת נקבלה. Verse 9 בואי ושלום עטרת בעלה גם בשמחה ובצולתו אמוני עם סגולה בואי כלה לך דודי לקראת קהלה פני שבת נקבלה לך דודי לקראת קהלה פני שבת נקבלה.
You could be seated, unless you happen to be one of our youngest congregants who are here today. If you are not quite to the age of your bar or bat mitzvah, if you're like not 13, but if you're anything younger than that, dance your way on up to the bima. I see you. Come on up for your Shabbat blessing. If you happen to be over the age of B'nai Mitzvah and you're still near your family, especially if it's the first time in a while, you have to get close and snuggle up to them right now. If somebody here with you is maybe not your parent, but your brother, your sister, your dear friend, your chosen family, this is a time to offer blessings to each other on one of the colder days of the last week and a half, to throw your arms around the people that you love the most and who love you, even if they don't always admit it. Shabbat Shalom, everyone.
Yevarechecha Adonai ve'yishmerecha ken yehi ratzon Yaher Adonai panav elecha v'chuneka ken yehi ratzon Yitzah Adonai panav elecha ve'yasem lecha shalom ken yehi ratzon.
It's nice when there's just it's lovely when it's chock full, but we were just catching up. Well, before we continue, Just sort of, I'm sure many of you have been getting those last minute things in the mail, the snail mail that's like, make your last contribution before the end of the year. Yeah, I know, me too. We're not going to do that tonight. That wasn't a prelude to anything. But in the spirit of one last before the turnover of the new secular year, we have a couple of special blessings here with us tonight that we want to offer. And the first one I'd like to invite up our dear friend and somebody who's been a teacher, a student, who is a friend to the clergy and an integral member of our community, Russell, to come on up and to join me at the Ark for just a few moments. With the Ark open, and if I'll ask everyone to please rise while the Ark is open. Russell, in just a couple of days, right? You'll be leaving. You'll be spending a couple of weeks studying in London, Gothic literature. All right. It sounds scary, but something about it tells me that there is depth to it and that there's some real beauty underneath even things that are spoken of, and I say this literally, sort of grotesquely or sort of plainly. And I hope that that is a metaphor for your time there, that even things that seem difficult to be part of, even if there are moments of frustration, even if there are moments when you're not quite sure what in this moment there is to draw from it, that you, with your keen eye and your brilliantly beautiful large heart and your soul, open up all of those moments to something that's really, really sacred, something that is holy, something that you have never experienced before, that you can then internalize and bring home and teach to those of us who have never learned it before. So with the congregation here and in front of the Torahs, it's my blessing, it's my honor to give you this blessing. Yivarechecha Adonai v'yishmerecha, may God bless you and protect you. Ya'er Adonai panav elecha v'yichoneka, may the light of God shine on you and make you happy. Yisa Adonai panav elecha v'yasem lecha shalom, may God grant you the greatest gift of all, which is that of peace. This used to be a lot easier when you were shorter than me, and it's no longer that easy. It hasn't been that way for a while. Go with God, be safe, come home so you can be our teacher. Amen. And bring us back something good. We'll continue on page 28 with the Baruch Hu, 28 and the following pages. Sorry, please rise.
Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach le'olam va'ed.
Blessed are you, Adonai, our God, ruler of the universe, who speaks the evening into being, skillfully opens the gates, thoughtfully alters the time and changes the seasons, and arranges the stars in their heavenly courses according to plan. You are creator of day and night, rolling light away from darkness and darkness from light, transforming day into night and distinguishing one from the other. Adonai Tsevaot is your name.
6 lines from the bottom in Hebrew. Umavir yom umevi laila, umavir ben yom uben laila. Adonai tzvaot shemo, El chai v'kayam. Tamid yimloch aleinu, le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai, Amari Baravim.
Page 32, we read together. Everlasting love, you offered your people Israel by teaching us Torah and mitzvot, laws and precepts. Therefore, Adonai our God, when we lie down and when we rise up, we will meditate on your laws and your commandments. We will rejoice in your Torah forever. Day and night we will reflect on them, for they are our life, and doing them lengthens our days. Never remove your love from us.
Baruch atah Adonai, Ohev Amo Yisrael. Yaedai, 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 yaedai.
Page 34.
Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. 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 Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto, Leholam Va'ed. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto, Leholam Va'ed. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad.
You can be seated. Continue on page 36. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavcha u'b'chol nafshecha u'b'chol me'odecha v'hayu ha'devarim ha'eleh asher anochi mitzavecha hayom ha'levavecha v'shinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam v'shivtecha b'veitecha uvlechtecha b'derech uv'shokbecha uv'kumecha uv'kshartam lehot al yadecha v'hayu letotafot b'neinecha uchtavtam al mezuzot beitecha uv'isharecha leman tizkeru v'asitem et kol mitzvotai v'yitem kedoshim lelohechem ani Adonai Elohechem asher hotzeiti etchem me'eretz Mitzrayim liot lachem lelohim ani Adonai Elohechem Adonai Elohechem emet. Page 39. Standing on the parted shores of history, we still believe what we were taught before ever we stood at Sinai's foot, that wherever we go, it is eternally Egypt, that there is a better place, a promised land, that the winding way to that promise passes through the wilderness, and that there is no way to get from here to there except by joining hands and marching together. Page 40 from Michamocha.
Michamocha, Ba'elim Adonai, Michamocha, Nedar Kodesh, Norah, Tehilot, Oseh, Valen, Norah, Tehilot, Oseh, Valen, Michamocha, Ba'elim Adonai, Michamocha, Nedar Kodesh. ונאמר כי פדה אדוני את יעקב, וגאלו מיד חזק ממנו, ברוך אתה אדוני, גאל ישראל.
Page 43. Read together at the top of the page one of our many, many Jewish blessings for peace together. Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Adonai, help us to walk with good companions, to live with hope in our hearts and eternity in our thoughts, that we may lie down in peace and rise up waiting to do your will. Baruch atah Adonai, hapores sukat shalom, aleinu ve'al kol amo Yisrael ve'al Yerushalayim. Page 44.
ישמחו במלכותך שומרי שבת וקוראי עונג, המקדשי שבי כולם ישמחו ויתענגו מטובך והשביעי רצית בו וקידשתו, חמדת ימים אותו קראת, זכר למעשה בראשית. זכר למעשה בראשית.
Pages 46 and following, we rise for the Amidah, the core group of prayers of our service. Page 46.
Adonai sefati tiftach ufia ki tehilatecha. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohei avotenu v'imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, Vekonei Hakol, Vezocher Chastei Avot ve'imahot, ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם, למען שמו באהבה. מלך עוזר מושיע ומגן, ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם בעזרת שרה. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיה הכל, אתה רב להושיע. משיב הרוח ומוריד הגשם, מכלכל חיים בחסד, מחיה הכל ברחמים רבים. סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר. מי כמוך בעל גבורות, ומידו מלך, מלך ממית ומחיה, ומצמיח ישועה, ונאמן אתה לחיות הכל. ברוך אתה אדוני, מחיה הכל. אתה קדוש ושמך קדוש, וקדושים בכל יום יהללוך סלה. ברוך אתה אדוני, האל הקדוש.
You can be seated. May these hours of rest and renewal open our hearts to joy and our minds to truth. May all who struggle find rest on this day. May all who suffer find solace. May all who hurt find healing on this day. May all who despair find purpose. May all who hunger find fulfillment on this day, and may this day fulfill its promise. Baruch atah Adonai Mekadesh HaShabbat. You are with us, O God, in our prayer, in our love, and in our doubt, in our longing to feel your presence and to do your will. You, God, are the still, clear voice within us. And therefore, when doubt troubles us, when anxiety makes us tremble, when pain clouds the mind, we look inward for the answers to our prayers, and there may we find you, and there find courage and insight and endurance. And let our worship bring us closer to one another, that all of Israel and all who seek you may find new strength for your service. Baruch atah Adonai, she'otcha levadcha beyirah na'avod. Take a few moments now, each of us, for our own tefillat halev, the silent prayers of our own hearts. And we'll return into our prayer book in just a few moments on page 62.
Shalom bimroma, shalom aleinu, le'al kol Yisrael, ve'imru amen. Yaseh shalom, Shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, Shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, Shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh Shalom, Yaseh Shalom, Shalom Aleinu ve'Hakol Yisrael. Yaseh Shalom, Yaseh Shalom, Shalom Aleinu ve'Hakol Yisrael.
Page 253. Take a few moments now to offer a blessing for those in our community, those in our lives, those in the world who we may never meet, who are in need of a blessing of healing, whether it's of their body or of their spirit, of their mind. Mishaberach Avotenu v'imotenu Avraham, Yitzchak v'Yaakov, Sarah, Rivka, Rachel, v'Leah, hu yivarech et hacholim. May the one who blessed our ancestors Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, Sarah, Rebekah, Rachel, and Leah, bless and heal those who are ill. And if you are holding anyone's image or name in your mind and your heart, we invite you, if you wish right now, to whisper it out loud. May the Blessed Holy One be filled with compassion for their health to be restored and their strength to be revived. May God swiftly send them a complete renewal of body and of spirit. And to that, let us all say, Amen.
Mishaberach Avotenu Avraham, Yitzchak v'Yaakov. Mishaberach imotenu Sarah, Rivka, Leah v'Rachel. Uyevarech et hakolim v'yishlach lahem refuah shelema. Refuat hanefesh u'refuat haguf. Refuat hanefesh u'refuat haguf. Refuah shelema. Refuah shelema. Venoma. Amen.
I once heard somebody was describing a writing contest. I think it was an NPR, the finalists were being announced, and there was a panel of writers, and one of the panelists said, they were going down the line, and there's this old sort of maxim of, there's really only blank number of stories in the world. And some people say there's only 6, some people say there's 4, and this one writer said, there's really only 2 stories that anybody tells in this world. Somebody leaves, and somebody returns. And we are blessed not only to send off with love one of our congregants for a journey leaving our community for just a short bit, but also tonight to welcome back, don't tell anyone I said this, one of my favorite people, Donovan Alquist. Come on up, Donovan. Donovan has returned from, you could call it a semester, except you weren't taking classes, right? Oh, you were? Okay, great. He was taking classes. This is how much we've kept in touch. A semester or an extended bit of time in Israel, which in the grand scheme of many of our lives, what a time to be in a place that's so full of contradictions and yet right now really just full of so much love from all of us. And we've kept in touch a little bit over the last few months. I didn't get notifications on WhatsApp. That was my fault that I went a couple of weeks without responding to you, and I apologize. But we, of course, followed your adventures through that and also through your parents, of whom you are, if anybody knows you are a product of exactly those 2 fantastic people in this world. And speaking as somebody who is thrilled to see you, I can't even imagine what is in their hearts and in their minds right now, having you home safe and sound after what should have been a typical and yet enlightening time of your life, and yet turned into something extraordinary that will surely stay with you. And we are grateful beyond every other measure in this world that you're here with us safely and in one piece. So I'd like to invite you up to the ark with me for a few moments of blessing, and I'll invite everyone to please rise. At the bottom of the page we were just on, no, you don't have to flip back to it, but at the bottom of page 253, where we have at the top this blessing of Misha Berach, there is another blessing down there at the bottom called Birkat HaGomel. And it's a blessing that is recited for those who have come through some sort of extraordinary and frankly dangerous moment. And for those who have emerged from it, absolutely without question changed, but intact and in one piece and ready to tell of their experience for others to learn and grow from. We give thanks to the bountiful one, to Adonai our God, to the sovereign of the universe, in whose inscrutable way has watched over the worthy and not quite the wayward, for having graciously done abundant kindness by returning you, Donovan, safely from the dangers that you've recently encountered. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, Shegamal oto kol tov. Blessed are you, Adonai, our God, who has brought you through those dangerous moments. May God, who watched over you, continue to grant you all that is good. Baruch atah Adonai. Oh, and I'll invite everyone to recite with me the Shehechianu blessing. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, Shehechianu v'kiyamanu v'higianu lazman hazeh. We give thanks to God, the creator of all things and everyone, who has given us life and sustained us and allowed us to reach this moment of happy reunion. Amen. I know Donovan and I both well enough to know that we both barely made it through that without shedding some tears. So it's good to have you back, my friend, my brother. Shabbat Shalom, everybody. Just want to share a few thoughts about this week's Torah portion, Vayechi, which is the final Torah reading of both the book of Genesis and also of 2023. Just as I was sitting down to start writing this last night, I got one of those shivers down my spine, not from anything bad, but because the temperature had dropped yesterday and it was cold. And right as the sun was setting, thank goodness, my heat in my house kicked in. And even though I sort of had a nice blast of warm air, I couldn't help but look at one of the photos, the framed photos that is on the wall in my house, which is a picture of the chapel, which overlooks the Pacific Ocean at my old summer camp in Southern California. Because on an evening like yesterday, the only place I would have rather been for 15 minutes was the beaches of Malibu in the middle of July. It was taken, this photo, on one of those long and luscious Malibu nights that I hope everybody gets to experience, right when the sun is getting ready to dip below the horizon, but it's still present enough that it's bathing you in those warm rays one last time before nightfall. That photo is pretty much an encapsulation of what summer nights are like on the Southern California coast at all, except if you happen to be there in May or in June. See, early on in West Coast summers, you don't get all of that warm brightness from morning to evening because of something that the locals call colloquially, and it depends on what month you're in, the May gray or the June gloom. Has anybody here by any chance ever traveled to Southern California thinking you're getting surf, sun, and fun and it's just foggy? Yeah. So like clockwork, every spring and into the early summer, this dense layer of fog, basically a low-lying cloud, sits on top of those mountains and just sits on top of those mountains. And the camp that I used to work at is called Gindling Hilltop Camp, right at the top of a mountain, right inside a cloud. And so you wake up and it's foggy, and you walk around all day and it's misty and it's not quite sunny, and then that chill comes back to you at night once the sun sets. But eventually, by the end of June, it dissipates, and you start living in the world that looks a lot like that photo on my wall. However, if you're a camper or if you're a staff member and you're ready for summer, you have to be ready to expect that for a couple of weeks. There was one summer, I believe it was the last summer that I spent at Gindling Hilltop Camp, that I had to take a quick trip down the hill to the pharmacy at the bottom of the hill in Malibu to pick up a camper's medication. And the cashier, who has been there forever and who knows that all of us wearing our camp shirts are going to arrive every year, looked at me and she said, "Oh, it's so gloomy the last couple of days. Those poor kids up there, you must be also miserable up in that cloud." Putting aside that it's very hard to be miserable in Malibu, California, especially when it's on summer vacation, put that aside, I couldn't stop thinking about that comment. Poor us, because there we are living in a cloud when what we really want is the summer sun and the fun. And I think that most of us never thought to be upset about that dense layer of fog because it's actually sort of a gift in the world of that summer camp. It's a chance to start the summer not looking outward at all of the things far, far away on the horizon, as beautiful as they are, but rather it forces you to look at your own community and at your own self. You're unbothered by that lack of view because there's so much right there, right in front of you to be accustomed to. All it took to turn a cloud into a haven was a change in perspective. And that is what I really do believe Parshat Vayechi, this week's Torah portion, teaches, that it is really all of it about perspective. Sorry, cliffhanger. So to read Vayechi is to wonder, is this Parsha the end of something or the beginning of something? Because it starts with a recounting of the last days of the life of Jacob, aka Israel, who has moved down to Egypt to reunite with all of his sons, including his beloved and long-lost Joseph. And as death, which is surely that quintessential end of things, approaches, Jacob blesses his grandsons, Ephraim and Manasseh, and all of his sons. His blessings remind all of us who read who each of these individuals are and what will become of them and their descendants. And to top off those blessings, Jacob gives a final directive to his children, to his descendants. He tells them not to bury him after he's died there in Egypt, where they have settled, but rather to travel with him, to bring him back up to the land of Canaan. Not to the point where he ended, but back to the place of his beginning, and to bury him there, to make his end meet his beginning. And he dies, and they fulfill his last wish. Parshat Vayechi then continues with this poignant interaction between Jacob's sons, the older ones who by this point have confessed and made amends for throwing Joseph in that pit all those decades ago. Those brothers confront Joseph, and they state plainly and very openly what it is that they fear, that with their father gone, Joseph will revert to some sort of grudge and will exact revenge on them for all of those past misdeeds. And yet he assures them that all of that is in the past, that all of that was the beginning of their family's generational feud, and that here they are at the end of it, and that all is well. The Parsha then leaps forward by a number of years, and it takes us to another death, this time Joseph's. Similar to his father's final wish, he instructs his descendants to carry him, that once he's gone, and once they have the opportunity, to carry him, literally to take his bones, back up to Canaan when they collectively return to that place. Even for someone in Joseph's position, the bulk of whose life, and certainly the highest points of success and fame, have been there in Egypt, even then, there is an urge to loop back the beginning to the end to the beginning, and to bring those two places together, back to where he originally came from, back to the place that had been promised all those generations ago to his ancestors, and therefore to him as well. And finally, Parshat Vayechi ends, period. It ends, and with it, the book of Genesis. And yet, we all know that it's not actually the end of anything, the last words of that book. It's the beginning of so much of Jewish history. In fact, it's the beginning of everything that is to come next, of the enslavement of our people under the next Pharaoh, of the freeing of their descendants by God through Moses, of the exodus out of Egypt, the return to Canaan, to Eretz Yisrael. All of these things in and of themselves beginnings, stemming from one end. And so, like I said, it really is all about perspective here in the Torah, and so too for all of us, especially at this season when one calendar year is about to end and another is about to begin. We think, is it an end? Is it a beginning? I think perhaps it's neither, because it's actually both. Without realizing it, or perhaps being aware, our personal stories, each of us, our lives, our relationships, our responsibilities, our adventures, they flow from now into then seamlessly, the next chapter commencing without the other one actually ending. Nothing can be without all that already is, and nothing that already is could be here without what came before it. And so, as we come to the end of this book and this calendar year, we have the choice to see ourselves through that particular perspective shift and to do what's best for ourselves and for those around us, for the entire world, really, that we think about our lives, our relationships, our responsibilities as a continuum that we must fulfill just as much tomorrow as we did today and just as much as yesterday. It's what God and Torah and our ancestors teach us is the right way to exist and to live. Shabbat Shalom. We come to the concluding blessings of our service, beginning on page 282 with Aleinu L'Shabeach. Please rise.
Aleinu l'shabeach l'adon hakol, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו כחלומם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו אחד.
You can be seated. Our thoughts turn now to those who have died in recent hours and days, those who died at this season in years past, and those with whom we've drawn into our hearts with our own. Our tradition, our custom here at Touro Synagogue is that if you hear a name with whom you're linked in life, in love, in family, in friendship, in any sort of love, if you wish, when you hear their name, we invite you to rise so we can recognize you for a moment, and then we'll all rise together at the end of this list for the blessing together. Touro Synagogue sends our love to the family of David Charles Bowman, who passed away just this morning and who will be laid to rest after Shabbat. We observe this period of Shloshim, the first 30 days following the death of Barbara Panitz Leeds, Audrey Zimmerman, Rabbi David Ellenson, Cantor Judith Borden Ovadia, June Pays Listel, and Dixon Singleton. And on this Shabbat, we recall these names who died at this time in years past. Rose Rosenberg Blitman, Jan Leslie Brenner, Alvin S. Kaplan, Abraham L. Fishman, Morris S. Forsyth, Ruthann Arsberger Francis, Ben Frank Friedman, Edith Rose Gabiner, Ronald Goldberg, Nathan Greenspan, Leopold R. Hirsch, Erwin H. Isaacs Jr., Dr. Adolph Jacobs, Sandra Smolin Jaffe, Hannah Klinger, Isaac M. Lehman, Dorothy Betty Sale Levy, Emil Levy, Charles Moss, Fanny Osterman Myers, Cheryl Ann Mintz, Henry Newman, Ryan David Reeves, Morris Reiner, Ray Marks Rosenberg, Sylvia Green Rothstein, Mary Catherine Singleton, Minka Shura Sprague, Fanny Bergauer Ullman, Marie Bertha Van Oss, and Michael G. Weil. If there are any other names that you would like to add, whether out loud or in your own heart, as my eyes come around, please feel free to do so. Zichronam livracha, may each and every one of their lives and memories always be for a blessing. We rise as a community on page 294 and recite together the words of Mourner's Kaddish. Yitgadal v'yitgadash shemei Rabbah, be'alma divrach yirutei v'yamlich malchutei, b'chayechon u'vyomechon u'v'chayei dechol beit Yisrael, ba'agala u'v'yizman kari v'yimru amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevarach le'olam u'lalmei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yithadar v'yitaleh v'yithalal shmei dekudusha b'richu le'elam min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata da'miram ve'alma v'imru amen. Yehei shlama Rabbah min shemaya v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'mramav Hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, v'imru, amen. May there be abundant peace from heaven and life for us and for all of Israel, to which we say, amen. You can be seated. It's our pleasure, as always, to share the bima with our congregational president, Dr. Laura Levy, who has some announcements. Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom and welcome. Special welcome to our friends Carol and Gary Gerson, who are back with us after 6 or 7 months in Chicago. We're so glad to have you back. Thank you. We're grateful tonight.
You may not be welcome back if you say that
That's
too
right.
loudly.
That's right. Be careful. Grateful tonight to Megan Yellen and Kendall Scales-Glade, who greeted us when we came in the door tonight. Shabbat morning at Touro Synagogue begins with Torah study at 9 a.m., followed by contemporary Shabbat morning service at 10:30 here in the chapel. Many of you know that planning is well underway for a mission to Israel, a congregational mission to Israel in February, a solidarity and learning mission whose goals are to cultivate understanding, to create opportunities to pay the Shiva call that many of us feel so deeply, to bear witness to the pain, and to be there. We invite all of you, all the congregation, to learn more about this trip and to complete the interest form that can be found in your congregational weekly T-mails. An important reminder, I think you know that the office has been closed this week. Our staff are enjoying some well-deserved rest, and as a consequence, we will not be having Shabbat dinner tonight or lunch tomorrow after services. We look forward, as always, to being together next week for Shabbat dinner. Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom. We'll conclude our service tonight on page 321 with a setting of Adon Olam that premiered somewhere, which we don't get to say very often with our liturgical music, but the Hasidic music festival, not necessarily all written by Hasidic Jews, but in the Freilich, uplifting style of Hasidic Judaism, has been going on in Israel for decades, and this was one of the early entries to that festival, an Adon Olam by Uzi Chitman, that I find just so captures that spirit so well and is uplifting in a way to launch us into the new year. And so we rise, page 321 for Adon Olam. We'll be singing the first couple and then the last verse. Adon Olam, Hashem Allah, Beterem Kol, Yitzir Nivra, Lehet Nasa, Vechetzo Kol, Azai Melech, Shemo Nikra, verse 2. Ve'acharei Kiflot HaKol Levado Yimloch Nora Ve'hu Haya Ve'hu Hoveh Ve'hu Yeh Betifara Adon Olam Hashem Malach Beterem Kol Yitzir Nivra Lehet Nasa Vechetzo Kol Azai Melech Shemo Nikra Ve'acharei Kichlot HaKol Levado Yimloch Nora Ve'hu Haya Ve'hu Hoveh Ve'hu Yeh Betifara Adon Olam Hashem Malach Beterem Kol Yitzir Nivra Lehet Nasa Vechetzo Kol Azai Melech Shemo Nikra Ve'acharei Kichlot HaKol Levado Yimloch Nora Ve'hu Haya Ve'hu Hoveh Ve'hu Yeh Betifara Ve'hu Haya Ve'hu Hoveh Ve'hu Yeh Betifara. Verse 5. Beyado Avkidruki Behetishan Behahira Behimruki Geviati Adonai li, Velo Yira. Adon Olam Hashem Malach Beterem Kol Yitzir Nivra Lehet Nasa Vechetzo Kol Azai Melech Shemo Nikra Ve'acharei Kichlot HaKol Levado Yimloch Nora Ve'hu Haya Ve'hu Hoveh Ve'hu Yeh Betifara Adon Olam Hashem Malach Beterem Kol Yitzir Nivra Lehet Nasa Vechetzo Kol Azai Melech Shemo Nikra Ve'acharei Kichlot HaKol Levado Yimloch Nora Ve'hu Haya Ve'hu Hoveh Ve'hu Yeh Betifara Ve'hu Haya Ve'hu Hoveh Ve'hu Yeh Betifara.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Take a deep breath, everybody. Whew. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
I'd love to figure out if